Hello everyone, my name's Philippa Boyle and I'm a soprano. This autumn I was due to perform for English touring opera in a new production of Mark Anthony Turnage's wonderful opera, Greek, staged by the director Jonathan Moore and conducted by Tim Anderson. Sadly, the global pandemic of COVID-19 has meant that these performances can no longer take place. We are all absolutely devastated that we can't bring this wonderful music to a theatre near you, and we can't wait to return as soon as it's safe to do so. English Touring Opera have been fantastically supportive of all their artists, and I'm absolutely delighted that they've invited me to deliver one of these singing lessons. This is number 11 in a series of singing lessons for adults. There's also a series of lessons for children, so the whole family can join in. If you haven't watched the previous 10 lessons of this series, I strongly encourage you to do so. This is a wonderful opportunity to see how different singers approach their singing and think about their technique, and whether you're a professional with decades of training and experience, or whether you're trying singing for the first time, there's so much that we can all learn from each other. Singers come in all different shapes and sizes, and what works for one singer may not work for another, or it can change over the course of time. What I'm going to do today is show you some stuff that I do in my practice and how I think about my technique, and hopefully give you some useful tips along the way. Let's get started. I think that there are three overarching concepts in singing technique: alignment, breath, and vowel. I'm only going to talk about alignment very briefly, as my colleagues in this series have already done a wonderful job on addressing posture. If you haven't already seen the videos by Susanna Hurrell and Edward Hawkins, I strongly encourage you to go back, because they give a wealth of information, tips and exercises that you can use to warm up your body and come to a singing session feeling supple, flexible and ready to go. All I will add is my own very brief posture checklist that I go through mentally every time I sing. Feet, knees, hips, shoulder, head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My feet are planted on the ground. My weight is evenly distributed between the balls of my feet and my heels. My knees are soft. They're not locked. They can bend and stretch as much as we need to. My hips and my rib cage is free and easy. Can you tell I do a lot of salsa? My shoulders are neither too far back, nor too far forward, nor up by my ears. They're resting comfortably in the middle. Last and most importantly for me is the head. If you're like me and you've sung in choirs for a long time, you might find that you have what I call a chorister's head. What do I mean by that? That as soon as you have a score in your hand, your tendency is just to look down a little bit, which, apart from being deeply unflattering, squashes our vocal apparatus, and it restricts the amount of sound available to us. It's something I have to struggle with a lot. It's a very bad habit that I have. My teachers at music college used to talk about singing to the cheap seats or singing to the gods, which I find very useful. The people in the front row will hear you whatever you're doing, but you have to look up and sing to the back of the theatre. And it's something that I always think about, singing to the back of the theatre, to encourage myself to have a nice, elegant long neck and as much free space here as I need. Now, breathing. I think every singer has slightly different ideas about breathing, because our bodies are different, our teaching and our training has been different, the demands of the repertoire that we sing is different, and our own mental images and pictures are different. All I'm going to do is talk very briefly about the mechanism that we have and how I think about it. To start, I'd like you to take your hands and put them on your rib cage. Ooh, I'm quite short, so you can't see me. But we're going to breathe in for 3 and out on a shh. So, shh. Again. Nothing revolutionary there, right? My shoulders stay where they are. you can feel the rib cage going in and out as the air enters and exits your body. Fine. When I'm warming up, I like to add another layer onto this. Take your index finger and your middle finger of each hand, and I'd like you to put them, ladies, just under your bra, gentlemen, at the top of your rib cage. Don't jab too hard because it'll hurt, but just press them into your flesh a little bit. And now let's do the same thing again. And one more. I find that really helpful because that contact allows me to feel the air going not just to the sides of my ribs, but right into my back. If you look at me, my back is very broad. I have a massive resonating chamber at my disposal, and it's crucial to the demands of the repertoire that I sing. Whenever I'm breathing, I like to think about breathing into my back so that I have all the strength of my body at my disposal. Let's talk very briefly about the flexibility and bounce that we also need in our breathing. Let's get our hands again, put them back on our ribs, and this time we're going to breathe in for 3 and we're going to say 3 Vs. What do I mean? I mean again. It's a bit like revving a motorcycle or perhaps the engine of an old classic car. You can feel those impulses in your body, the bounce, the energy, the re-energizing of the sound, and that's what we want in our singing all the time. I'm going to incorporate the buzzy V, which is the term that my colleague Thomas Elwyn used in his last lesson, and I like a lot, into some of the warm-ups in this lesson too. To start, I'm just going to sing a descending 5-note scale. I want it to be as legato and smooth as possible on a V. Here's an A flat. It's in the middle of my voice. It's quite comfortable. It's near to my speaking pitch. No problems. Now, good breath. Same thing, upper semitone. And one more. Here's I'm deliberately sliding from note to note. I want that legato to be as smooth as possible. If you ever watch MasterChef, there's always a round where somebody decides to make a dessert using chocolate paint. You know what I'm talking about. They take one of those paintbrushes and they paint a smooth, straight brown line across the plate, ready for some raspberry coulis or chocolate soil or whatever it is that they use. And I find that a really useful mental image for my own legato. I want to go smoothly and filthily and deliciously from note to note. Let's do that again. That's our B flat. I love that exercise because I can feel the buzzing in my lips. I know that my support is working properly because the air is continuing to flow. I know that there's no tension involved. My tongue is staying put. My jaw isn't involved. I want to talk about the tongue a little bit more. I have a very long tongue. There it is. And I do a lot of work with my tongue outside of my mouth. What I mean by that is that I want to experience it as unencumbered a sound as possible. To do so, I'm going to do a simple arpeggio with my tongue out. Have a go as well. As light as possible. You can feel the little bounces in your support mechanism, can't you? Fantastic. And one more. Now, let's do that again, but add our chocolate paintbrush legato version afterwards, always with the tongue out. Here's our E flat. Think of it being really delicious. Here's an E. Here's an F. And our last one, an F sharp. Let's keep that idea and turn to prepare for Tom's homework. He asks me to find a phrase in an aria that I study that begins with a vowel and to introduce a buzzy V on the front of it to give me a nice springy attack and to help me sustain a spinny tone through the phrase. In order to do that, I'd like to introduce all of the vowels after our buzzy V in a quick warm-up first. So, we're going back to our V, but this time we're going to hold the V and open onto an E. I want the tongue to be just resting behind my bottom teeth, and I want that buzzy V at the beginning. And one more. I'm keeping that filthy chocolate brush legato all the way through. I'm going to add in another vowel now. V. Here's my A flat. My tongue's not doing anything. My jaw's not involved. Let's do VAR. VAR. And finally, you've guessed it, VAO. I've been working very hard not to do anything with my jaw or my tongue. On this pitch of my voice, I might allow my lips to round for the oo just a little bit. There's an A. This time, put your hands here and try and feel that real buzz in the E. You should feel it just in your cheeks. Same again. What I want to do there is to explore where we can find that sensation and buzz and resonance in our bodies. We've talked about it in our rib cage, in our support mechanism, in our face. Our whole body is at our disposal and our whole body is our instrument. Now, let's talk about Tom's homework. He asked me to find, as I said, a phrase in an aria that I'm studying that begins with a vowel. And he illustrated this beautifully with a phrase from Bellini's song La Ricordanza, which means remembering. If you're familiar with Bellini's opera I Puritani, perhaps the most famous aria from it, sung by the soprano Elvira, is Qui la voce sua soave, which is exactly the same melody as La Ricordanza. For my piece, I've chosen staying with Bel Canto, Elizabeth I's initial aria from Donizetti's Maria Stuarda. I was fortunate enough to perform this role in English with Opera Up Close last year, and I'm currently working on putting the original Italian into my body. We've just introduced all 5 vowels that we need. A, E, I, O, and U. I want to keep them bright and Italianate. I studied in Italy, I did all my training in Rome, and for me, bright Italianate pure vowels are key to everything I sing, no matter what repertoire, no matter what language. And they're what I always come back to, bright Italianate vowels. Here's the phrase that I chose without the initial V for the first time. A quando all'ara scorgemi un casto amor del cielo. What that means is when a chaste love from heaven takes me to the altar, when I'm going to get married. You'll notice that both phrases begin with a vowel, a at the beginning and un in the second, a and u. Let's try them both with Tom's buzzy V. Thanks, Tom. That really helped. It gave me something to spring off, and it allowed me to sustain that spin through the line, and it made it much easier to sing. What a fantastic idea. I'm going to stick with this phrase for now, because I want to talk a little bit about Bel Canto. Bel Canto means beautiful singing. We've been using this chocolate paintbrush idea of legato, and it's absolutely crucial here. And I want to integrate that with these pure Italian vowels. I'll keep Tom's buzzy V, but I'm going to sing the 2 phrases again, just on a vowel. Va. I really want to be as legato as possible. That wasn't perfect. What else do you notice about it? It contains these triplet ideas, these ah, ah, ah. That's an example of what we might call a fioritura. In Italian, that means flowering, a type of embellishment. The simple melody would go like this, just on an ah. Ah. And Donizetti makes it more interesting by adding these sexy passing notes. Now, I'm not going to talk about coloratura today, but we can introduce this concept of fioritura. These triplets need to be part of the legato line. They mustn't pop out, they mustn't interrupt. So let's deal with that by doing an exercise involving these triplets. There's a C. I'm just going to go. Same again. Nothing's happening with my tongue. As little is happening as possible with my jaw, and I'm just feeding the air through it. Let's do it a little bit faster. An upper semitone. And one more semitone. And the last one, this is starting on an E flat. For me, I find that E flat is bang in the centre of my passaggio, which I know we've talked about in previous videos in this series. What that means for me is that an E flat, I just want to open my jaw a tiny bit more and have more space available to me. That's all it means. Just as legato as same again. Bit faster. Faster still. I want them to be supple, flexible, easy, and free. Let's come back to my original phrase in a different key. What makes this bel canto is that I'm now aware of these little passing notes, and I can use them as I wish. I can accent them, I can make them lighter, I can make them heavier, I can play with the tempo a little bit. That's the essence of a fioritura, and it's the essence of this bel canto playing at our disposal. I'd like to introduce another bel canto piece, which I'm going to use as our homework. Can you sing this for me for an R? Very simple 4-note scale. And I'm going to add 3 more notes onto it. So. And then, as a final twist, just at the end. Got that? Can you say this for me? Vaga luna. Vaga luna che? Vaga luna che in argenti. Vaga luna che in argenti. Queste rive e questi fiori. Queste rive e questi fiori. Vaga luna che in argenti, queste rive e questi fiori. That's an Italian phrase. It means beautiful moon, you who make silver these shores and these flowers. Vaga luna, che n'argenti, queste rive e questi fiori. You can see that when I'm speaking, my mouth is quite animated, it's quite frontal. But when I'm coming to sing it, I'm going to be as still and relaxed as possible. Goes like this. Vaga luna che n'argenti. Just try that with me. Vaga luna che n'argenti. And then queste rive, questi fiori. Again. Queste rive, questi fiori. I've chosen these phrases because they have all of our Italian vowels. A, E, I, O and U. It's from another song by Bellini called Vaga Luna. I'd like you to practice those two phrases for your next lesson. Use Tom's buzzy V, which we have right at the beginning, in Vaga Luna. Speak the text. Come back to my video if you want to. Speak the text very slowly and then sing it with that legato chocolate brush that we've been using in all of the lesson. That's about all the time I have. Thank you so much for tuning into this, and thank you to English Touring Opera for this wonderful opportunity. Please follow them across all of their social media platforms, subscribe to their channel on YouTube, and visit their website at www.englishtouringopera.org.uk and support them if you can. Thanks very much.